welcome to another episode of the 24th Floor. We're taping this on April Fool's Day, and we are joined with me, as always, my head man, main man in charge, is the predominant jokester of the newsroom, Ruben Diaz.
Yeah, and surprisingly, I don't have any April Fool's jokes.
I was just about to ask you. I just got in, so I know this is our resident joker right here.
Grizzlies are getting the #1 pick.
That's not April Fool's. That's not yet April Fool's. That's not yet April Fool's.
No, they need it. But we'll talk about Grizz at some other point, some other time. Let's not waste the breath on it right now.
I was about to say, this guy, he don't want to be associated with anything Memphis Grizzlies basketball.
That's not true. I just don't love the state of the current NBA. But again, that is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. I do like the Grizz. I just don't love the NBA the way it is right now.
So lately, in these shows, we've been talking about the NCAA tournament, and we'll touch on it, but it's a lot of people's favorite time of the year, and that's spring football.
Yeah, there's 2 football seasons, football season and spring football season.
So now you just kind of get those juices kind of going and everything, and so we want to kick things off with the SEC, especially because SEC is on ABC, and our resident SEC team is the Ole Miss Rebels. And now we get to our main topic, because you can't talk about Ole Miss without this guy.
Yep.
He's the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch right here on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, and anywhere you stream your podcast. Once again, welcome to the program, Mr. Stephen Willis.
It's football season. You can give him a clap.
Oh, yeah, the clap. Yeah. Hold on.
There you go, Stephen. You're ready.
There we go. I was waiting on the clap. I was wondering if he was forgetting about that, because it's kind of become a good luck thing.
Yes, it is a thing. And so I don't think people realize, diehard football fans definitely realize it. But if the team you support isn't that great at football, maybe you don't look forward to spring ball as much. But man, every big time program loves spring football.
Do you know who loves spring football this year more than any other?
Who?
And that is the Kentucky Wildcats, because they spent $20 million on a basketball roster for that.
Yeah.
So they're investing in football.
Oh, they won't make that mistake twice. Steve,
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about spring ball in Oxford. What have you seen so far?
Basically, social media clips, some quick highlight stuff designed to pump you up. The main thing I've gotten out of spring football so far is what Pete Golding said yesterday when he spent about 30 minutes with the media talking about how his plans for spring football are, the way it's come down, his discussion about the Luke Farrelly case, which turned out to be a much hubbub about nothing, essentially. But I think Ole Miss is in a really good spot. Pete Golding did have a catchphrase that has my attention, and that is where he says that this is the most deep team that Ole Miss has had since he's been there. That includes the Walter Nolan team, the 2024 team. Pete Golding was there for that. So if this is the deepest football team that Ole Miss has potentially ever had, I'll sign up for that.
Well, the expectations are high. I know, there's no joke about that. I mean, you're coming off of a playoff appearance, and now you're probably the favorite to win the SEC. So let's stay on the topic of Pete Golding. Something that kind of stood out to me was how he said he's kind of structured these practices kind of in an NFL style, which makes sense because a lot of these SEC guys, you expect them to one day play in the NFL. But I think it kind of speaks to the NFL experience he has on his staff with Joe Judge. What did you kind of think about that, seeing how they're kind of doing it in 3 phases and stuff like that?
One thing that was pretty interesting about the whole thing is that, hey, we're going to start off with the weight room. That's going to be phase 1 to get these new players involved in what's going on and everybody up to speed. And then we're going to get to learn how to practice game speed, treat it like NFL OTAs, practicing in shirts and shorts, so you can have the game speed involved. And that's kind of the phase they're in now, essentially. And then they get to the contact phase at the very end, to where they basically teach how to work, how your game plan is, how game week is going to happen, even without having a game. I think it's pretty smart, Pete Golding kind of working this way, because with all the transfers and all the new players coming in, it can be a crash course in them kind of swimming, or you can kind of move everybody along as you go. Kind of a rising tide lifts all ships. And by the end of spring, you're going to have theoretically 105 players on your roster that all know what the expectation, the standard, and everything dealing with football is going to be before fall camp starts. Because we all know once fall camp starts, once August gets here, it gets real.
Yeah, it's in this generation right now, in this time of transfer portal and kids constantly moving, you don't really get the culture like you used to, right? Where your seniors set the tone for your freshmen, and then that's how they kind of learn. So I think you're right. Doing it in these phases is the closest thing to setting a culture that you can probably do in this current era of college football.
And they've done a pretty good job of retention and players not jumping into the portal. They're able to get freshmen and kind of bring them on for multiple years. Suntarine Perkins has been here 4 years. Will Eccles, this will be his 3rd year. Cam Franklin, this will be his 3rd year. LaDarian Clardy, who was a true freshman a year ago, got a little bit of playing time in the playoffs, and now he is going to be going for a starting position. In this era of the transfer portal and everything that's going on, Ole Miss traditionally has not been a school that has been overly hit hard by the transfer portal, even with a head coach leaving. And I think that is a testament to what Pete Golding has built and how they're building this program moving forward, because I do think some of those young, homegrown high school players are going to find themselves on the field.
Mm-hmm. Switching gears now, let's talk about, obviously, the most important position in football, the quarterback. It was the first time that we got to hear from Trinidad Chambliss since this legal battle really kind of got underway with the NCAA. And maybe I'm reading it a little bit wrong, but I kind of took his first words as he kind of was running victory laps, but then also being kind of like gracious that it's for the most part is over. Looking at Trinidad, this is now the first time he's entering a camp with Ole Miss where he knows he's the unquestioned guy. He was, obviously last time he was the backup. So what do you think that kind of speaks for him, knowing that this is his team? And what do you think his ceiling is to kind of like take over and really, plant his flag that he did make the right decision to come back to Ole Miss?
Yeah, I guess we kind of buried the lead there. Trinidad Chambliss is going to be the starting quarterback for Ole Miss. Pete Golding announced that in his meeting as well. But no, I think that it shows that, A, Pete Golding and everybody knows that Trinidad can handle it. B, he was 8th in the Heisman Trophy voting, so who are you fooling anyway by any type of a competition? And Trinidad stepping up, getting outside of his comfort zone, as he said in the press availability, that he wants to be more of a vocal leader. That's not really his style, but he wants to get out of his comfort zone a little bit for that. And all of this is in preparation for him to go to the NFL. And everybody's going to say, well, why didn't he go this year? Well, the answer is he didn't think he was ready. He didn't think he was there, because the reality of it is you can go into the draft after your 3rd year, but that doesn't mean you're going to stick. He wants to give himself the best opportunity to stick. And I think that he thinks Joe Judge is that ticket for that. He mentioned in his press conference that he kind of asked, like, hey, what did Tom Brady do in situations like this when you were in New England? And Joe Judge would explain that. And you can see that the mental part of the game, Trinidad is really trying to embrace the mental part of the football game to give an advantage for somebody that's 5'11", 6 foot tall. He's on the undersized of the height. He's not going to be a combine superstar for his measurements. But if he can have the mental background, he can know how to play the game with all of the tools that he does have, he gives himself the best opportunity to stick.
That's very interesting, the way you put that, because I was thinking the same thing earlier, was that when you're talking about Chambliss, his playmaking ability is what really kind of stands out. Well, that doesn't always show in the combine, right? So you get your NFL grade. To the question of why he didn't leave, he probably got an NFL grade that he didn't like. He looked up at the grade and said, okay, I could get a better grade than that if I do X, Y, and Z. And then to have that tutelage, basically, from the NFL side, I do think you're right, but I also think that this year can also be the year where he kind of proves it wasn't, I'm not going to use the word fluke. Yeah, it wasn't a one-hit wonder. I didn't just come in as the backup and have a great year. You've got a year of film on me, and I'm still going to go do what I got to do.
Still that man. Well, let me kind of continue going with this just to kind of go to Ruben's point. Trinidad, I know we talked about this when it initially happened, but with Trinidad, you look at this quarterback class and you're looking at who they're talking about now, Fernando Mendoza and now Ty Simpson. But other than that, there aren't really any quarterbacks that jump out at you that's in this draft class. So I looked at Trinidad and I'm like, okay, you look at this current quarterback class, he's really better than a lot of these guys except for maybe Mendoza. And then you kind of go back and look at what was the guy from Ohio State, blanking on it, Cardale Jones, and how he lit it up. And, there was a talk about him going to the draft, and he came back, and then he came back to Ohio State, and he ended up not being that. That's where I'm kind of fearful for Trinidad. But when you explain it like y'all have, like being under Joe Judge, because you have that guy who was an NFL head coach, it's a very tricky slope that Trinidad is playing if he wants to be an NFL quarterback, because I obviously think next year's class will be way better than this current class. So I don't know, but I'm rolling with Trinidad because he wants to go out and show that it was no fluke and he is that guy. But if you look at it just from between all the three of us, it's like, well, he'll be $1 million richer no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Than if he went to the league.
So, Steven, I want you to comment on all that real quick, but I'm going to give you one quick antidote to that, is that the measurables, which you mentioned, Steven, he doesn't excel at the measurables. So trying to go to the NFL when your measurables don't hit the mark, the Mendoza mark basically, means you have to bring something else. And Steven, to your point, I think that's why he decided to come back, was to do all the other things to offset the measurables.
Because everybody needs to know, when it comes to stuff like this, the goal for anybody going into the NFL draft is a second contract. The second contract is what the actual goal is. Getting drafted is great, but if that is your ultimate goal, if you just want to play in the NFL, they are going to send you packing pretty quick. If you want to stick, if you want to, for lack of a better term, have a Ryan Fitzpatrick career to where you're around for 10, 15 years, you need to have the mental part of the game and ready to go, especially when you are 5'11", 6 foot tall. If you can get the Drew Brees, if you can Drew Brees it, for lack of a better option, to where you have the mental part of the game and know how to cut the corners you need to cut and you need to play the game the right way, you're going to stick around because he has the talent. He can make the throws. We've all seen that. We just have to realize when he plays against teams that force a smaller window, what is that going to look like? Because at that point, defensive recognition and stuff like that is so important.
Yeah, and the way the NFL masks coverages is different than college football. And so if you see a deficiency, we'll use the word in reading coverage, especially pre-snap or immediately post-snap, that post-snap first step read is really, really important. In the NFL, they do such a great job of disguising and masking those things, dropping linemen into coverage at times too, that you don't necessarily see in college all the time. So I personally think that Trinidad is making a great decision by coming back. He's going to get his money at Ole Miss no matter what.
That's the main thing.
And then he gets to improve his draft stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, and it's not that he doesn't see the coverage, it's maybe that he just wants to see it a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the margins we're playing with.
Yep.
There we go. That is what I've kind of got around to, because you can scheme around that. I mean, look at the guy. There's short quarterbacks who are thriving in the NFL right now. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield, starting quarterback for the Bucs. Kyler Murray. Now I know he's not with this Arizona anymore, but he's going to be the starter in Minnesota. He's going to be out.
Baker's not too different than Trinidad was last year.
Yeah,
right?
He's the comp. He's the comp.
Yeah, they're not too different, except Baker has a whole lot more attitude / personality than Trinidad. Trinidad's a lot more chill.
I think if you put Trinidad in the game right now, he would do okay. But to Steven's point, and I'm glad he verbalized it better, is seeing those coverages quicker. Like, I think that Trinidad could start an NFL game right now and do pretty good for himself. But being just tight on everything, coming back is important. So obviously this is going to be something that we track all season long. But, I mean, obviously this process started with spring football day one.
Yeah. Has there been any, and I know we're just getting rolling, any major transfer portal kids that we need to be knowing about that we haven't discussed yet that are heading to Oxford?
Are you talking about basketball or?
I prefer to talk football, but we can talk basketball.
No, you're talking about the portal kids that are on campus now.
Yes. Anybody there that we haven't talked about yet that it's like, hey, this is a guy we got to watch out for.
Yeah, Jonte Cook, who was a top 30 player when he came out of high school, was an Under Armour All-American. He's one of two players that I went to the Under Armour practices and just walked out just completely wowed after watching him. The other was Zach Branch, the player that went to Georgia. Jonte Cook struggled a little bit at Texas, a kind of maturity thing. Ended up going off to Syracuse, New York, kind of didn't have a quarterback, still managed to have like 50 catches, about 500 yards. He's kind of become an alpha at Ole Miss. Caleb Cunningham, who is not a transfer portal player, has a chance to be the Deshaun Stribling type football player for this Ole Miss offense. He was a 5-star out of high school in Mississippi. He's a really good player. The wide receiver room is worth paying attention to. I think Tommy Kinsler, the transfer from Miami at offensive tackle, it'll be interesting to see if he lands in the starting lineup as this moves forward.
Always some interesting Ole Miss guys, because who would have known that it was going to be Deuce Alexander who was going to end up being a star until like last year. So that's what we will always say is I like Steven is a kind of a guy like myself. He likes looking at these guys at the beginning to be like, hey, I knew about this guy from the jump instead of jumping on the bandwagon. We always appreciate this, Steven. Before we let you go, as always, tell the people what you're working on.
Well, real good. I'm still taking a victory lap because even during the recruitment when Deuce Knight was committed to Notre Dame, I said he's going to end up at Ole Miss. It's just a matter of when. And sure enough, that happened. But it's all spring football. It is college baseball and the basketball transfer portal. It's about a week away.
I was going to say it's getting ready to open.
That's going to start going. Yeah, so we'll be talking about that on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
That the basketball transfer portal is probably going to be the craziest thing in recent history because there's so many kids already announcing.
Yes.
Yeah, Ole Miss got Ilias Kamerdine is coming back to Ole Miss. That's been announced.
I'm not surprised about that.
I don't know that he had the kind of year that he could make any more money going anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Well, he could have hit the portal potentially. And this is a guy that played professional basketball over in Europe, so I guess he could try the NBA thing. But Chris Beard needed to get him back.
Yeah. Steven, as always, we appreciate your time, and I'm glad you kind of said the word for us about college basketball and everything, because that's what we're going to talk about in our next segment. But we got to take a quick break. Steven, as always, thank you for joining us, my friend. We'll be back with more 24 Floor after this. Now, I'm not going to lie. I thought that we were done with Memphis Tigers basketball for a while.
No.
Or just really Memphis basketball, period, in athletics as far as the University of Memphis. But a lot has gone on with the Tigers. First, let's just talk about Penny Hardaway adding more to his staff. He added...
Yes, added 3 bodies.
Yeah.
Got rid of 3 bodies.
Got rid
3 or more. And then had to replace those bodies. So you're talking about Sean Mock,
Trevor
Deloach.
And then the biggest one, Tony Madlock.
Yeah, Tony Madlock, who is from Memphis.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about 3 names, and I know you want to talk about Madlock here in a second, but the thing that stuck out to me when I saw this announcement was all 3 of those guys have heavy hands in recruiting.
Yes. Yes, but they still haven't named a GM.
Well, I think they're still working on that. I did see something where that could be expected in the coming days.
Yeah.
And still, they've got a list, and they're working on a list. That GM position is so crucial.
Yeah.
Right now in college athletics, and it will be for the next few years while they still figure out how to make this NIL stuff work. But you got to have a GM who knows how to balance the budget, who knows how to find guys that are worth what they want. Everybody has to figure out how to balance those budgets. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to happen for Penny and Company because they have, seem to have brought in some big names on the coaching staff to help. Mm-hmm. Familiar with the conference, obviously, familiar with recruiting to that conference, but now that GM portion is huge.
I can imagine you as a GM.
So the reason you don't want me as a GM, or the reason why the college basketball world doesn't want me doing it, is because I'll be real honest with you. Some of these guys are getting massive paychecks with absolutely no production value.
Yeah,
and,
they don't match.
To me, those contracts, while they can't be based on points and rebounds, I do think there should be some level of production value associated to it, meaning you have to play in X number of games to get your full stipend, or to get your full, or at least be eligible for X number of games to get your full amount, or you have to, you can't be suspended, or you get X amount of all. There should be some production level value to it. And then a guy averaging 4 points at Iowa shouldn't be able to command $500,000 to go to, Texas Tech because he's got D1 Power 4 experience. Now you're going to pay him all this money, but instead of averaging 4 points a game, he averages 6 points a game.
Yeah, I agree. Now, another thing I wanted to talk to you about, when it came up to the hires, is the Tony Madlock thing. Because something that I'm noticing, obviously, Mo Williams was the head coach at Jackson State, and he took a job as a Kentucky assistant. Now, Tony Madlock was the head coach of Alabama State, right?
Alabama State.
Yeah, I was about to say Alabama A&M, and I didn't want them to come get me. He was the head coach at Alabama State, who just made it to the NCAA tournament. So you got a good thing going, but you leave to join Memphis, of all P5.
P5, the group of five, yeah.
The group of five. So what do we think about that? It's an interesting thing. Why would you leave being a head coach of a kind of successful program to come be the assistant?
Now, is he an assistant or an associate head coach?
I think he's going to be an associate, but he's not the head coach. Unless he's the coach in waiting if Penny gets fired.
I can tell you why, very simply. It's because I shouldn't say anybody, let me rephrase that. A lot of those coaches that are coaching at the mid-major, and let's be real, HBCU is the mid-major level.
Yeah.
Are coaching, they're really just trying to be successful so that they can go get a job at the very next level. And for that is a group of five job is the next level.
Yeah,
now,
but
while you might be saying you go from the head coach to the assistant coach, yes, but the resources are phenomenally different. So trying to be the head coach at a school that maybe struggles with resources, and really that man probably coached his tail off to get that team there with limited resources. Think about what he'll be able to do, even as the assistant, as a part of a bigger plan. So you want to go coach P4 at some point. You're going to get that from the HBCU line, or you're going to get that from working with Penny at Memphis?
You're going to get guys who maybe had the skill level that could have been good enough to play in P4 or group of five, but maybe it's grades, maybe it's attitudes or something like that. They just missed the cut. So you can still go to the HBCUs, get your numbers up, and then hit that portal, you know what I'm saying? And then that can almost be like a training ground. And so that's kind of where I see where those HBCUs matter. So that's why I'm thinking with Matlock, I'm thinking it probably, as you said, you get more, but you still can build something at a HBCU, and then you still could move up to be a mid-major head coach at a place like a Siena or a Drake. You know what I'm saying? And you still can.
If he helps turn Memphis around in 2 years, he could be the head coach of a American Conference team. Easily.
Yeah.
From where he's at. He can't get that same job from where he was at just now. He's got the path is, I shouldn't say he can't. The path is more difficult. His path is a lot easier to become a head coach at a group of five or Power 4 school in working with Penny in Memphis, because Memphis has the prestige. All he's got to do is help turn it around. If they turn it around, then he becomes a hot commodity. He becomes one of the next hot coaches on the list that's going to get a job somewhere. And I'll say for HBCUs, to me, it's more of a stigma than a reality when it comes to HBCUs. There becomes a stigma with going to play at an HBCU that's not necessarily the reality. And it's because of facilities, it's because of resources.
Can still get that HBCU experience, and then still now, you can hit the portal. Because me, I don't regret going to Oklahoma State. I'll just say that. I'm in Atlanta, but I'm an Atlanta guy. So you know what that means. I grew up around Morehouse, grew up around Clark, Atlanta. So I've been HBCU bread and butter, growing up as a kid. I was in the marching band, and it was very much like a HBCU style. So I know, and sometimes I look back and be like, damn, what would my life be like if I had went to a HBCU? But then you, like what Ruben says, you look at the facilities and everything that other schools do. So I get it for guys, because I've talked to, my own peers and people younger than me about what their thought process is. But I think now because we have the portal, you can go to a HBCU and you can get that experience and ball out and still hit the portal and get where you got.
Bro, I'm telling you, I live in this college basketball world, and I'm telling you, Matlock's probably twofold. He probably wants, for pride and for love of the city, wants to come back and help turn it around. There's probably a part
as a native
of him.
Memphian.
Yeah, there's part of him that's probably like, you know what, the opportunity's here. If I can be a part of that turnaround, that change, I'm all in. The second part of that is, if he does help turn this thing around, in 2 years, he becomes the next head coach at one of these other Group of 5 schools for sure. And then you're successful at the Group of 5, your next step is Power 4. So if that's his goal, then he's absolutely on the right path. If his goal is just to help turn Memphis around, he's still on the right path. His heart may not have been where it was. His heart might be in Memphis.
You're right. I mean, because look at University of Tennessee, another Tennessee team. Their assistant is now about to go be the head coach at NC State. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was listening to the presser from Rick Barnes. Rick Barnes said that guy is ready for the moment. That's the perfect guy to be the NC State head coach.
You got to work that. You got to work that tree, man. You work that coaching tree, and that's the other part of this. Now, this is all part of your coaching tree and your expansion. I have coaching friends of mine that are trying to get jobs right now, and seeing where they're going. I've got a coaching friend who just took the women's job in New Mexico, right? Coming from Missouri Valley Conference, or might be Ohio Valley Conference now, school in Missouri, now taking that job over in New Mexico. It's just part of the journey that they have to live that we don't know nothing about. Yeah. TV's a little bit, not too dissimilar, but that coaching thing is different.
Now let's turn our attention, because all of these coaching moves were rooted around recruiting. And obviously, once again, Memphis, it finds itself almost having to start from scratch. So as we are taping this, these are some guys that stuck out to me that have hit the portal for the Memphis Tigers. Ashton Hardaway.
Yes.
Curtis Givens.
I'm going to give Ashton the check mark, though, the pass, and here's why.
That's twice he's leaving his dad.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know how hard it's got to be? I can't imagine.
Coach's kid?
Yeah, I mean,
and Penny's your dad.
Penny's your dad, so the expectation of who you are has got to be tough to live up to.
So you can't just be your dad is crazy.
You can't just be your own person and your own hooper, because you're playing for your dad, and B, everybody expects you to be like your dad. So I think him moving on is honestly a great thing for him. It's a great chance for him to just go be him, figure out who he wants to be as a player and a hooper, and blaze his own path. Good for him.
What about Curtis Givens, though? You know, that's a guy who also Memphis bred. I mean, his dad is a big-time businessman, and obviously I know when Curtis Givens came back, it was a lot of hype around it. He kind of had an up-and-down year, much like a lot of the Memphis basketball players. I was kind of surprised, though, because I thought he was being one of the building blocks.
Well, again, we don't know what the meetings, at the end of every season, they have postseason meetings. And those postseason meetings are more like business meetings now than they have been in the past.
Yeah.
Givens' money may have changed. See what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this that we don't think about. He may have been getting X number of dollars, and then now Penny and them may be saying, no, we're dropping that to this at this point. And that may be why he's leaving. It could be because he just wants a fresh start. This last season, that's a bad taste in anybody's mouth, especially if you have plans and goals of continuing to play long term. It's hard to do that if you have consistent bad seasons, right? If I'm trying to go, whether it's to the league or overseas, or even just get to a P4 school and make a little bit more money, it's hard to do it when you're having rough seasons. So in his mind, he could be saying, hey, you know what, let me go get a fresh start, see if I can't ball out for a season and see where that takes me. But I will tell you, there's a lot of these things that people don't realize is that financially based. Either the kid wants more money than the school wants to give, or the school decreases their money because they don't feel like they got their value. There's a lot of that goes on that people don't realize.
Do you think it'll be a reunion with the Tigers and P.J. Haggerty? Because he's not going to the league. He's not good enough.
Yeah,
It's just not.
No, I don't know what's going to happen with P.J. Haggerty. And I don't know if I'm Memphis if I do that. I mean, you got a fresh staff.
I don't want to say it because I don't want to come off as a hater. So I want to listen.
Yeah, I'm not a P.J. Haggerty hater by any means, but you got a fresh staff. There's a slew of kids in the portal that can play.
One of them is the kid from Tulane. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
The Roman Brumbaugh, and he's killed Memphis every time they played.
So to me, if I'm Penny and staff, what I'm probably doing is I'm saying, okay, once this GM gets in place, we got to go get a star, because that's what they were missing. You were missing a star. We got to put a big chunk of money on a star, and then we're going to build from there. And once you figure out who that star player is going to be, that guy that you can hang that ball, you give that ball to, and you know he's going to go get a bucket, then you can build the rest of your roster around that kid. If you start building a roster without a star, then you're giving out too much money to role players.
Yeah.
Now you don't have enough money for a star, and now you end up in the same boat where you don't have a guy who can go get you a bucket.
2 key words Ruben just said, that building and stars. And as we are taping this, it is the dawn of a new era in Memphis women's basketball as they are building something with the new head coach, Hannah Hayden, who comes from Georgia Southern, which is my sister's alma mater. So, Ruben, you're big in women's basketball, girls basketball. How do you feel about this hire?
I think it's a great hire.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. She was coaching JUCO for a while, then took the job at Georgia Southern. She is a player's coach. People love Hannah. They do. I don't know one person who can say one bad thing about her. She's big on community. She's big on investing into the kids, the players. She's extremely likable, and she's just really, really good at what she does. I think the best thing about it is it's a breath of fresh air for Memphis.
Yeah.
She's going to come in and some of those. I'm just going to keep it real. Some of the players on Memphis's team don't need to play at this level, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. And Hannah has enough connections. Coach Hayden, I should say, has enough connections within the coaching world from the JUCO level and on up that she's going to be able to find players that fit her system, that can go win. I say you give her a couple of years, and they're going to be really, really solid because she's very, 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 very good.
Are you saying they also are going to fall into the same problem as they need to look for a star?
The women's game is a little bit different than the men's game in that regard, but it doesn't hurt you to look at a UConn. Does UConn have one star? No, they keep more than one. But you got Sarah Strong, bro. Yeah. So you don't. It's not the women's game and the men's game are a little different, right? And so, I mean, South Carolina, Dawn's got 5.
Yeah.
She starts 5 stars, right? So on the women's game, it's a little different. I think that she'll be able to find 1 or 2 really talented star potential players, develop them for a year, and then they'll be stars, and she can build underneath that too. I think that's what I could easily see. I don't think she's going to go out and just start throwing money at every big name she can get. I don't think that's going to be what happens. I think next year people are going to see a much more competitive Memphis women's basketball team.
Yeah.
They're going to see a very engaged coach.
Yeah.
And you're going to see a style of basketball where they know how to score. That was the biggest thing, and I'm not trying to be mean. We spoke about this off camera. I watched a couple of Memphis games and women's games just because I watch women's basketball a lot, and I was astounded by how poorly they shot the basketball. Mm-hmm. In the women's game, you have to be able to shoot. The men's game, you can play above the rim, right?
Yep.
You can play in the paint and above the rim. So you don't have to be able to shoot it at the same clip all the time, right? You can go through a scoring drought and still go score. The women's game, you need to be able to shoot it. You need to be able to shoot mid-range. You need to be able to shoot threes. Even the bigs at this level, at this point in time, need to be able to at least be consistent. They don't have to be deadly from out there, but they got to be able to be at least a threat. And when I watched Memphis women's basketball this last season, I just did not see a lot of that on the floor. I saw a lot of, I just didn't see it. And so I think that you're going to see a change in that for sure.
I'm very intrigued to see how she does recruiting. She has definitely been hitting the ground running. Hopefully we'll be able to get her on the 24th floor. But we got to take a quick break. We've been burying the lead. When we come back, we're going to talk about the people who are actually still playing in the in the NCAA tournament.
Well, we don't have to talk about that.
Because that's what, Memphis wants to get back to, the NCAA tournament. And yes, it's that time. We're talking about their brackets. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back.
All right, we are back for this segment that I think we need to make really, really short. Really, really short. I was looking at some stuff real quick. Really short.
It is that time. Ruben was victory lapping after the first weekend.
Hardcore.
He was up in the office pool. He was on this program doing better than Zeke and I. Zeke couldn't join us because Zeke really is at the bottom of this March Madness stuff. He didn't even
probably shouldn't be allowed to do it.
He didn't want to stand in the paint, you know what I'm saying? But we sit here on the eve of the Final Four, and out of the two of us, and even adding Zeke, out of everybody in the newsroom, I now have the best chances.
But you're not.
I'm not undisputed number one, but
let's be clear before you start to take off your shirt and pound your chest. You're not number one, but you do have the best odds.
Technically number 3.
Yes, technically number 3. You do have the best odds to win at this point going forward. I don't know what happened to. Well, I do know Houston.
It was so funny when I looked on it and it said Ruben Diaz 0% chance to win.
Dropped. That's because I only have Michigan left.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I have left because. I totally did not get, the Illinois, Nebraska, that area. I didn't get any of that side correct. I messed that one up completely. Duke I had for a while, but I didn't have the opponent correct. Houston got me.
Houston got me too.
I had Houston going, so I had Houston 1, which I expected them to win. I would have had Houston and Michigan still in it.
Houston is the only thing that kept me from getting my whole Final Four right. So let's actually get into. Let's break down, obviously the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight. For you, what were some games that stood out to you?
All of them. The Houston game killed me.
Yeah.
They barely scored in the first half. They were in like the 30s in the first half, which don't get me wrong.
We talked so much about their defense.
Yes, and they did a great job defensively. They just could not score.
I got something that, I wrote down about the Houston game because I have what I call my penniless thoughts when I'm just.
I would say they're penniless, all right.
So,
and then the UConn game obviously was one that stood out. But I will say I have been very pleased with this year's NCAA tournament as far as just the entertainment value of the games. Even if you don't have a bracket, even if you're just watching because you love to watch college basketball, there have been some really good games, super entertaining games that go down to the wire, last-second shots, 4 or 5 point games all the way to the end. That's all you can really ask for. I didn't love the fact that Arkansas got whooped by Arizona.
I tried to tell you that was going to happen.
You've been riding Arizona, so I'm going to give you your props. You've been rocking Arizona this whole time.
Before we get on Arizona, this was my note because I was very upset about Houston losing. But when I look at this Illinois game, at the end of the day, Illinois summoned the peak Soviet Union. That's far too un-American for me.
No.
Playing un-American hoops. All them Eastern Europeans on the team. The one American is Keaton Vogler. They do have Stojakovic's son.
Yeah, which I think is super cool.
Which he was balling, but too much East European. Not enough American for me. Not enough American for my taking. But Houston, we made so much about their defense, and then offensively, they just could not score. I mean, Kingston took over a little bit late, but as I was texting Ruben, I hate when that happens in this tournament where teams do what they need to do the whole game at the end. The same thing happened with Cal Baptist and Kansas, in the first round, where Houston finally was looking like they could make it a game. It was too much of a big hill to climb, and obviously they're going home. I feel bad for Kelvin Sampson because, he kind of alluded to this. This is probably the last elite team he's going to have because they just don't compare with the money.
They just don't have the money.
The money. And they're P4. They're now in Big 12. He
came out and said, we're a poor school. He was like, we're poor. We can't afford it. But that's part of the reason why they have to live on defense. Because you're not paying top dollar for elite defenders. You're paying top dollar for elite offensive players.
Yeah.
So you can go get elite defenders, not have to pay top dollar, and then teach them to be great offensive players. Whereas you can't really do it the other way because you can't afford to go get a bunch of elite offensive players. The offensive players command the money. The bigs command the money. But you go get you some guys who are not afraid to get scrappy and play defense. Now you can run a system or come up with a system. But that's why with Houston, you can see their success is really predicated on team basketball. Mm-hmm. When they move the ball well, when they're setting screens and flaring and, slipping and doing all these things, they're going to score well and win. And when they don't do that, they struggle. Let's take a pause from Houston and let me give you some credit, which doesn't happen very often. Got your diary out? Get your diary out. Dear Diary is what Rich needs to write. You were actually spot on about Arizona. Spot on. Part of the problem is I hadn't watched very much Arizona. I watched a lot of SEC basketball this year and even a lot more mid-major basketball than I watched at the Big 12. Didn't watch a ton of Big 12. Mostly BYU. So I didn't watch
AJ?
Yeah, because I wanted to see his progress. I didn't watch a ton of Arizona. So when I finally did sit down and watch them, I was like, oh, Lord, I'm in trouble. My bracket is in serious trouble. I knew before the tip, Arkansas couldn't beat them. By the time that matchup happened, by the tip, I knew Arkansas couldn't.
It dawned on you when it tipped off?
No, I'm saying before they ever got to the game, because I'd watched them the previous game.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm in trouble, because Arkansas can't beat them.
I tried to tell you. So the thing with Arizona, my first time getting a look at them was actually the game they lost against Kansas when they got blown out. And I wanted to see how they responded to that. and they went on. They didn't let Kansas beat them again, and they just kind of went on a trail. And the way they played Houston in that Big 12 tournament championship, for everything that Houston brought to them, they always had a counterpunch. And to me, I've always said everything starts with their guard play. Jaden Bradley and Braden Burries and Koa Pete, and then they got that Crevis guy. Out of the teams that are left, Arizona probably has four of the best 10 players left in this Final Four come from the Arizona. And I will say that Michigan matchup is a heavyweight matchup where that might as well be the national championship.
It pretty much is.
In our office pool, that's what's going to decide who wins. I mean, it's really between me and Kevin McNamara. Kevin McNamara had Michigan. I had Arizona winning it all. That game is really the national championship, right? I think whoever wins that game wins it all. But in saying that, you talked about the buzzer beaters and the close games. For Michigan, it hasn't been that. They've been just smoking teams.
And to my credit, I had Michigan.
Me too.
But I just didn't have Arizona. But Michigan has size.
Yes, to me, that's what it is.
See,
they have like 3 guys on there that's 6'9" or taller, and they're starting 5.
That's what led Texas on the run that they had. They were able to use their size in those. That's the NCAA tournament.
Texas, man.
NCAA tournament is all about matchups, right? So the NCAA tournament, you get that bracket. The first thing you're trying to figure out is which matchup is favorable. Not who's the better team, because sometimes the better team doesn't win. It's who's got the best matchup. Like, what's the favorable matchup here? And that's where Texas was able to go on their run, is because matchup-wise, they had the size that other people just couldn't stop at that point in time. They were dominant in the paint in those first couple of games. And so that's what led them. And that's
what was your thoughts on the undoing of Texas losing to Purdue and the way how they lost not boxing out? Like the decision to leave the 7-foot guy on the bench.
Well, he was at 4 fouls.
But I get it. But on deep,
But he can't really play defense at that point. When you're in that situation.
So you agree with Coach on leaving him on the bench?
Who am I to question him, bro?
Coach Miller?
I mean, who am I to?
There was a lot of flack he got for that, man.
I don't know that I would have left him on the bench, but I can understand where the thought process was. How much time was left?
It was 10 seconds.
10 seconds. So with 10 seconds left, you could probably afford to.
But you have nobody to box out, and that's how Kaufman-Renn is able to get the tip.
But the problem is, if he fouls on that free throw,
you're gonna lose the game anyway.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
I guess I don't know that I would have kept my 7-footer out who had been dominant the whole tournament.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that, but I also don't know what was being said in that huddle. I also don't know what the game plan and was there a plan for the make and the miss that did not include him? They needed speed, and he couldn't be on the floor. Those are the things in those coaching in those timeouts, man. There's a plan for the plan. Yeah. And so I could see a situation where it was, hey, we've got 10 seconds, make or miss. We don't have time for the big to rebound, turn around, take a dribble, and outlet. The guard's got to get it and go.
You talk about plan for the plan. That's going to be the segue to the guy who I think is the best when it comes to the plan for the plan, and that is Coach Dan Hurley, because I got UConn in the Final Four, and I was right about that. And I was watching, so I wasn't able to watch that game from start to finish, but I was able to get my eyes on it in the end. And I just kept thinking, man, UConn is so much better than this team, but this team, UConn is so undisciplined. They were missing free throws. Terrence Reed was fumbling the ball. And for them to still have that poise, because Duke should have won the game.
Should have won the game, yes, correct.
So Solo Ball misses a free throw. He goes 1 for 2 at the free throw line. Then Duke goes down and they score on Boozer. Boozer gets the score. They go up 3. Then UConn goes 1 for 2 at the free throw line again. And Duke obviously now just has to hold the ball. And then Caden throws the turnover for Mullins. But I think for Hurley, for a lot of teams, they give up, in a situation like that.
Maybe not that level, but yeah, I see
what you're saying. For Hurley to have a plan for the plan, that even they weren't panicking when his guys was going 1 for 2 at the line, and the probability of Duke just holding on just seemed inevitable. For them to be so locked in on the moment, to play defense that hard, force the turnover, because they could have fouled. They could have fouled. They're down 2. They could have fouled and played the free throw game, but they really locked in on defense to force the turnover. And to me, that just speaks to excellent coaching by Hurley in that moment. Because a million times as a coach, you would have seen a situation like that, your guys are going to foul us immediately on the inbound.
Well, again, we're talking situational basketball here at this point in time. So it's in situational basketball, you're always going to go for the steal first and then the foul second. And so time, score, obviously, are dependent on that, and they play a big part in that. coaches don't stop coaching till the buzzer sounds. You can be up 10, and you don't see coaches celebrate with a double-digit lead till the buzzer goes off. And that's because if you've done this stuff enough, if you've been around it enough, watched it enough, been in it enough, sweated enough in those games, then, and I'll give you an example. I coached a game in Ohio 2 years ago. The Arkansas Gatorade Player of the Year on the women's side was on my team. Right, so we're a pretty decent team. We're playing this team out of Ohio. They're really good. We turn the ball over with 0.2 seconds left. So what's the rule? 0.2 seconds, all you can do is what?
Throw it at the rim.
All you can do is tip it.
Yeah.
You can't catch it, bring it down,
tip.
and score. So all of our parents are excited. They're pumped. Like, we won the game. It's 0.2 seconds. It's women's basketball. We've got enough bigs. We've got enough bodies in there. All we got to do is contest, make the catch, and it's a game over. I'm sweating because I know it's not over yet. Sure enough, they throw the ball in. The girl tips it, catches it, heaves it. It goes in. They give them the win, even though it's not legally possible.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's not legally possible. But that's why coaches never stop.
Did y'all
coaching.
protest it?
Yeah, but it ain't going to matter. It's summer basketball, bro.
Oh,
You know,
man, I would have been mad.
Yeah,
I'm
you can be mad. But again, that's why when you're saying, man, he's so, of course, he's not going to stop till that buzzer goes off. You're going to have to beat him. That's the way coaches think. You have to beat me. I'm not going to give up. And so it doesn't shock me. And Hurley is.
He's the best, man.
He's a
best.
bulldog for sure. He's borderline. He's on the edge for sure.
He's the best. I said it at the very beginning. He is the best college basketball coach in the game today. I think they will beat Illinois because I kind of jumped on the UConn bandwagon back when they had Kemba Walker. So I got them beating Illinois. What's your take? I mean, now your bracket is cooked. So
my bracket's cooked.
And you said in the last episode that you'll wait till we get to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So who's your take?
So I'm going to still rock with Michigan. I'm going to rock with Michigan on this one, even though I do think Arizona's a better team.
Over Arizona?
It's so tough.
I mean, Yaxel is arguably the best player remaining right now.
I just think they're going to lean on him.
Memphis people.
And then I think UConn advances.
So you got UConn and Michigan, and you got Michigan over UConn.
Yes. If that happens, I'm taking Michigan over UConn. But I do reserve the right to say Arizona beats Michigan. And if whoever wins Michigan and Arizona wins.
Yeah.
In my mind.
That's what I got it. So I got UConn over Illinois. Of course, I got Arizona over Michigan, even though I'm sweating for that one. I think Arizona has the players to take care of Michigan's size. Yaxel Landenberg, a guy a lot of Memphis people don't like from his time at UAB, and that kid talks a lot, man. But anyway,
speaking of talking, we're done talking for now.
We will put a pin in that. When we come back, we got the best thing we saw. It is one of my favorite segments, the best thing we saw, and we've been talking about March Madness. Let me just really quickly get mine. Best thing I saw is that buzzer beater.
Yep.
That buzzer beater against Duke. UConn, like we've been talking about in the last segment, Coach Hurley is a genius. You know, Braden Mullins, that's his name, right? Yeah. See, him and Burries, I just always have a brain fart because their names are so similar. Him launching it, that was his first three of the game.
Yeah.
He said he thought it was a tie. He said he thought the shot tied it. When you saw that play, what did you think?
Well, one of my favorite parts of watching that play was watching Hurley's mom in the stands after the dude shoots it, and she's dropping F-bombs here and there because now you're like, where he gets it, right? Like, you know what Thanksgiving's like at their house. I thought, what a great March Madness moment.
Yeah, especially against Duke.
Yeah, at that point, honestly, I don't really care. When I'm watching like that, like in the opening rounds or two, I'm like, oh, my bracket. But then after a while, I don't really care. The great moments. And that's a great March Madness moment.
I say that, but I don't like Duke. I'm a Duke hater. Are you a Duke hater?
I'm not a Duke hater. Not the slightest bit. I like the boozer guys.
I do too. Nothing against the players.
Let's get my best thing I saw because it's related to that.
Yeah.
My best thing I saw, how about the infamous headbutt?
He should have been teed up for that. But I'm not complaining because we ain't a Duke fan over here.
So Coach Hurley, if you didn't see it, gave a little headbutt to the official after the game or during the game or at the conclusion of the game. It turns out that they are actually friends, known each other for years. And Coach Hurley said he thought they were going to chest bump. And ended up turning into some sort of a little bit of a head bump. But
the referee, I mean, they went up and asked him about it, and he was like, what are you talking about? But then the sad thing is I think he had to pay for it because he's not coaching in the final. I mean, he's not reffing in the Final Four.
Yeah, that he did this because of a little bit of conflict of interest there. So those are the best things we saw. There were tons of great things that we saw during the NCAA tournament. We just don't have time to get to all of them because, well, we're out of time.
And I'll just be happy that I'll take this victory over Ruben. Mission accomplished.
Anybody, beating me is
mission accomplished.
If you can beat me at anything, then you've accomplished your whole. You don't have to do anything else in life.
What the viewers don't know is we were supposed to go play basketball a couple of weeks back, but that got to put a pin. That would have been another victory lap I would have had.
No,
but
he don't like his ankles apparently.
As Kanye West said, I guess we'll never know.
Snatch them ankles up.
I guess we'll never know. That does it for our time here on the 24th floor. A special thank you to Leanna Davis. We are glad to have her back. You know, behind the scenes, I've been having to do a lot on the back end of this show, and having her back, we're happy to have her.
Yeah, appreciate everybody taking the time. Stephen, of course, always a part of what we do, getting things done. We appreciate it. We, of course, will keep an eye on March Madness and have much more coming up next week.
But that is the 24th floor. We will see you later.